Hello there, my music lovers and smartphone enthusiasts. I'm Josh from audiophile-heaven, and today we're having a look at the Poco F2 Pro. This is a smartphone. This is a flagship. This is amazing, but it has the price of a mid-range smartphone. So let's see how this one kills Samsung's best devices with just $400 in price range. Hello there and welcome back to audiophile-heaven. This is my channel because we love music and this channel is all about music. So let's see how the F2 Pro works as a music device and how it actually works as a smartphone. Because I actually needed a replacement, an upgrade from my Xiaomi Note 9s because I wasn't quite satisfied with it. Please keep in mind that those are my personal purchases, so I'm investing my own personal money in this, so I'm going to be pretty harsh when reviewing them because I am kinda salty about things. The Xiaomi Note 9s had a lot of awesome stuff, but some things just didn't quite cut it for me. So the F2 Pro is my answer to all of those things, although there are a few shortbacks and shortcomings to it. So let's find out what those are. The unboxing is quite terrible. The box is ugly. I'm just hating the box. Just look at this. This one is kinda cool, but the yellow box is just terrible. This is the ugliest box I have ever seen for a smartphone. It comes with a little pouch with the paperwork, a little SIM tray access tool, and a little case. Unfortunately, if you want to take advantage of it, you are supposed to use only this case, because using any other case will actually affect the usage. And there is the smartphone. This is the Poco F2 Pro in life and bounds. So let's find out what else is in the package. Of course, a charger and a USB cable. The USB cable is once again quite terrible, not quite long enough to provide satisfactory charging. And there is also the charging brick, which is quite wide and quite large for this smartphone. This being said, it has 30 watts of quick charging, which basically means that you can charge it really quickly, like it just jumps in charging. It charges considerably faster than my Xiaomi Redmi Note 9s, and I'm quite happy with this. The charging is actually a cool part. This is the display, and I'm quite happy saying that the display is gorgeous. I would actually recommend never using it without the case. The back is not exactly glass, at least my unit seems to have a metallic back, and it is going to be scratched in no time. It is going to be a disaster if you keep it without the case. The case is kinda thick. The overall phone is actually a bit thicker than my Xiaomi Redmi Note 9s. And this is how the two smartphones looked to each other. The case for the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9s is actually much softer. It is black and made of silicone, and it actually stays a bit better in hand. The Poco Phone F2 Pro is kinda hard to the touch. It is a bit larger and it is not quite as ergonomic as the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9s. I was actually thinking how to get into this review, so I'll go from the shape and functions of the body, then to the camera, and then to the display and other menus. Starting with the body, you have the audio jack at the top, which is once again pretty terrible. I was not quite happy with this as an idea, because I would actually use this phone right next to my car's windshield, like I would place it on my car's top so I could see the GPS and Waze while I'm driving around, and that means that the audio jack doesn't quite have space right here, so that is not quite so good. I preferred having the audio jack at the bottom. It doesn't really have that terrible notch in the center of the display like the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9s, and that is a pretty cool stuff, because right now to have the camera you actually have this. It has a tiny thing that lights and goes up. I don't really trust the selfie camera so much to last in time, but it is a pretty cool and okay thing. I don't really mind the fact that it has one, but it's meh. I'm kinda meh and meh about it. The camera, the pop-up camera, actually has a cool feature. If it feels that it is falling, it will automatically retract pretty quickly and the phone will start vibrating. I actually tested this feature, and that is a fun thing because I threw it up in the air and I waited for it to come down. I actually caught it, I didn't let it touch the floor. I'm not doing a drop test with it. The camera did retract and the sensors are actually working. On the other hand, the display is actually much better than the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9s. And I've read reviews about it, because even as a reviewer I read reviews before purchasing stuff, and the majority of reviews actually said that there are problems with the display, and they said that it has a blue tint, which is not true. My unit has a bit of a red tint actually. It is a bit warmish, it is not cold. So the blue/red tint, whether the display is a bit cold or a bit warm in terms of color reproduction, tends to vary between units. My unit is actually pretty warmish in overall color, at least on the vivid setting, and on the vivid setting I actually have a very low delta E, which means that it reproduces colors quite accurately. The maximum brightness is outstanding. The minimum brightness too. The refresh rate is pretty much enough for me. I use it for light gaming, I use it for some video watching, and I'm using it to listen to music and see my GPS. The menu is way smoother and more ergonomic than the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S. Everything is much faster. And this brings us to the processor or the CPU, which is the best CPU in the world right now. At the moment I'm making this video, there is no CPU available that is stronger than what the Poco F2 Pro has inside. This thing means that even if you are purchasing a smartphone that costs $2,000 it is going to have the same CPU. It cannot really be much faster, it cannot really do things much better. This one is the 6GB/128GB. Basically it has 6 gigs of memory, more than my computer used to have a few years ago, and it has 128GB of usable space, and that is not quite enough actually, because it does not have a micro SD slot. And you might start wondering, did Georgie go insane? Why is he purchasing a smartphone without a micro SD slot? Well, I actually kinda made peace with it. Like, I couldn't really find a cheap smartphone that has the micro SD tray, so I decided to do the following. I decided to purchase the phone, make a list of my best music, like make a compilation, and use it with the phone. This is because although I am a music lover, although I am an audiophile heaven, I never really use my smartphone for music listening. For serious music listening, I typically use this iBase DX220 Max, which is 1 kilogram of a DAP. This is a device weighing 1 kilogram, and this is what I use to listen to music, even portably. So in the end, I was not going to use the phone for anything else except for car music, because when I'm driving, I don't really take DAPs with me, I just take the phone because it is much simpler and much more convenient to use the phone. In that aspect, I think that I should mention the sound is much better than the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S. It doesn't really have much more of a driving power. They have pretty much the same maximum loudness, they can drive pretty mumuch the same headphones and DMs, but this one sounds better, cleaner, more detailed, more dynamic, and more punchy. It is a much better source. It is high resolution certified, so it can decode high resolution files. Pretty much a dream phone in terms of audio. Going forward to the cameras at the back, you have 4 cameras, from which just one is usable. The macro camera, no. The wide camera, no. The depth sensor doesn't really do anything. Pretty much you can only use the main camera, which is a 64 megapixels camera, and I have taken some shots with it to compare it with my Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S. I have tried my best to show how they differ. I actually think that the cameras are pretty close to each other, although this one has some software features enabled which kinda make up for the sensor. The sensor is not the best, it doesn't really compare to my girlfriend's Huawei P20, it is still lower in quality than the Huawei. The Huawei tends to have better overall colors, a more defined image, but the software upgrades in the Xiaomi Poco F2 Pro tends to kinda make up for that. Now, one feature I don't really like is having the fingerprint reader in the display. I kinda hate this because you are supposed to touch the display and it kinda detects your fingerprint. Now, it may sound like a cool idea. The Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S had a fingerprint detector on the side, and it was much easier to use. Compared, I am getting way more missed detections on this one. It kinda worked this time, but sometimes it doesn't really work as well. You need to be right in the center sometimes, so it is kinda meh. The display being a Super AMOLED, it is going to die. The display will die and it will be a terrible story. Everyone should cry about it. It is something I already know. Every single AMOLED display in this world is going to die because they have an organic component that degrades in time. That is something you should know before purchasing those. On that note, when you press the fingerprint detector, it lights at maximum brightness, if you can see this, and that is not great because it is going to degrade the display much quicker in this area. It is going to kill the organic cells in that area. It is going to leave a very bad overall screen burning or screen ghosting in time, and I'm kinda unhappy about that. That is something to take into account when purchasing it. Using the face detect is not an option either because you would be using the pop-up camera often, which is also a pretty bad idea because that engine is not made to work infinitely. It has a few thousands of up and downs. Pretty much unlocking the display is either burning the display, burning the pop-up camera, or at the very least you are going to keep pressing the numbers or the patterns to unlock it. Pretty much it is not perfect in that aspect. I was able to kinda work with the limited space. The RAM though is just outstanding. Having 6 GB of RAM and the fastest CPU at the moment of making this video, I'm having a blast with it. It just moves so quickly, it plays games so quickly, it's just perfect. If you told me that this costed $400 I would not have believed you if I hadn't bought this myself, and that is in Romania, close to its launch date. If you are going to purchase it at a later date, you are going to get an even better price. Just think about it, this is flagship level of performance. The body is much better than that of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S, from which I upgraded. It is pretty much the perfect upgrade if you don't mind the lack of a micro SD slot. The battery life of the Poco F2 Pro is actually not quite as good as what I had in the past, because I had the Xiaomi Redmi Mi Max 3, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S, and both of them actually had a better battery life than this one. This one does charge faster though, so it takes less time to charge it, but the battery lasts almost half of what those two lasted, and that is not quite as good. In the end, I actually find myself draining the battery less because I am doing my activities faster, because usually my Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S took way longer to load things. For example, opening my Gmail and reading mails took way longer on the older phone, while for this one it just takes a few seconds. I see all the mails, I'll open them, I close the display. This is why in the end, if I'm not doing a battery test and if I am using it daily, I actually get more usage out of the Poco F2 Pro than I was getting out of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S or the Mi Max 3. Being faster, I actually keep it open way less of a time. And that brings us to the next thing. You should spend time with your loved ones. Don't let this phone steal your life. Please do not transform the phone into the purpose of your life. Please enjoy your time with your friends. Please take some time to get outdoors. Please, for the love of everything, be there when you are outside. Don't let those devices steal your happiness. And that is a big thing. After having it, I'm kinda satisfied. I don't really look for an upgrade anymore. There is nothing I kinda need. It has pretty much everything I wanted from a smartphone. I don't expect it to turn into an audiophile DAP. It will never do that. So at this point, the camera is good enough for me. Although I am a professional shooter, I have a reviews website, I take professional shots, the camera of the phone is good enough. I don't expect any phone to have a much better camera. The flagships will have better cameras, but none of them will be at the quality of a DSLR. My Canon EOS C250D still is going to be much better. And in that sense, I'm not going to even try to impress myself with a smartphone anymore. The camera is great for taking a quick shot. It is great for getting yourself some nice photos to share with your friends, like taking a picture of a cat or of a dog on the street, for taking a nice panoramic shot, but it is enough. It will not do the job of a professional DSLR, and no smartphone is ever going to do that. I know some reviewers imply that they do, but in the end, if you need a professional shot, you need all those pixels, all the proper resolution a DSLR has. So don't lie to yourself. Your smartphone isn't going to become a professional camera for those who work in the industry. For those who want to take very cool shots, it is going to be way more than enough. This being said, I have noticed that Huawei phones tend to have much better cameras, so don't purchase this if you want the best camera. The Poco Phone F2 Pro doesn't even have Leica lens, and I hope that my photos are proving to be enough for you to get some idea of how good it is, but at the same time I'm hoping that you are understanding my point about the camera quality. The phone tends to be so quick that I forgot how it was to use the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S already. Another cool thing that I forgot was how terrible MIUI was, the original interface of Xiaomi, and how great the Poco interface is. Because with the Poco, you are able to have an app drawer. This has been missing from Xiaomi devices for a long time now. I wished I could have this. I have a drawer of all my favorite apps, and this is just so awesome. In the past, I did not have this, and it was terrible. It was just terrible. Every single app was on your display, and this is how it looked on the Xiaomi interface. The Xiaomi didn't let you have an app drawer. Of course, you could have used an aftermarket or a launcher from the Play Store, but it never integrates quite as well as the original. And in this sense, I am really happy with it. I always record both my thumbs on the fingerprint scanners because I don't really know which hand I'm going to use, so that is a cool advice I have for you. Record both of your thumbs and your indexes in the fingerprint readers. It is going to give you a much better experience with your smartphone. Now, as I've been saying, the launcher is quite different on the Poco phone. It is like a mix of the original MIUI launcher and a default vanilla Android launcher, and that is just awesome. I'm loving it. You also have the quick ball. At least so far I've only seen this feature on Xiaomi smartphones, but you basically have a little ball that you can activate on a side of a screen and you can kind of swipe to do a certain action. Since this is a huge display, it has 6.5 inches, I am going to say that the quick ball is kind of useful because I am quickly swiping, like for example now, to close the display and other actions. So once again, pretty awesome. The Bluetooth module inside the Pocophone F2 Pro is better than the one in the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S. I am having better range, better coverage, more stable connection, and everything seems to sound a bit better. So I am guessing that the OS inside the phone is not cutting so much from the signal as it was with the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S, which is a cool thing because even for audiophiles it is going to be a sensibly better option, the Pocophone F2 Pro. On the other hand, the limited space kinda will make you either purchase the 265GB version, or you are going to only use streaming, YouTube, Tidal, Qobuz and other services. And that is a cool thing because being so quickly, loading so fast, having a very strong 5G connection, also having a very strong Wi-Fi signal, you pretty much are going to get instantaneous song downloads if you have a good router as well and if you are close to it. So at the end of the day, it is kind of cool because being so quickly, being so connected with everything, I am not feeling the lack of space. I just don't really take my collection with me anymore. I just take like a mix of the best songs in my collection, which I'm going to be listening to in the car. And when I'm driving my Dacia Logan, which I still haven't upgraded and I'm going crazy about it, I am using the phone to stream music to my car. I probably would not recommend it as the Mind DAP. It is still not a DAP. DAP companies still make much better players with balanced outputs, with more driving power. This is not going to cut it for those people who are very serious about music. But if you are a hobbyist, if you are in your early stages, if you just want to have a good time, the Pocophone F2 Pro is going to be awesome. At the end of this review, I hope you had a great time with me. I hope you have enjoyed spending your time at audiophile-heaven. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Also, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed the content, if you found the video to be informative, and if you found all of the things you are curious about. I hope you have a lovely weekend there, and I hope we'll see each other really, really soon. Bye bye.